Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another photography video. And this time, instead of shooting for cars and bids or bring a trailer or the typical auction where people are buying a car sight unseen and you have to get every little detail, this time we're just shooting for auto traders. So someone is going to be coming and checking the car out in person means I can get a little bit more creative. And so we have.
Also, this guy's here.
What's up, everybody?
This is a 1980 C3 Corvette automatic. It is black with the red Batman stripes, and Elliot is selling it for one of his friends, and he asked me to come take the pictures of it. And yeah, so we've got the Elliot Alvis studio lighting, and then we've got black paint, which is always a challenge, and red pinstriping absolutely everywhere. Check out. I actually love it around the Corvette badge. That's pretty neat. Bit of a tramp stamp kind of thing, but it's very intricate, and I kind of dig it. What I dig even more, I mean, I just love C3s in general, especially the door handles. Yes. I'm so sad they went away from that, and then they kind of brought it back with the newer ones with the pocket doors, and boy, look at those fingerprints. But the bloody guts, just forever one of my favorite things. Black car or white car or silver, any dark colored car or white with a red interior is just the absolute best. I guess the only combo that doesn't really work is red on red, because that's just, you know, too much. But man, this thing's in actually really good shape. Those are still really soft seats. We got the automatic transmission. What do we have for miles here? 50,000 miles. That's less than literally anything I own. Clunk. And of course, you've got like 16 feet of hood. If I stand here at the nose of the car, yep, and yeah, I'm like 12 foot away from the driver. That's phenomenal. A lot of people deride these composite nose later C3s, but honestly, I don't mind them that much, and I just love any C3 because look at that shape. It's kind of hard to see, actually. That shape. I don't know. It's all reflections. Black cars are the worst, like I said. Just the aggressiveness of these front fenders. I've always loved it so much. I might buy this. I don't know. Also, it's got a mirror finish on the T-tops, which is kind of neat.
So back to the flared wheel arches. When you're behind the wheel, because the hood's so long and it actually disappears in front of you, the way the wheel arches come up, it's really easy to tell where the front wheels are in this thing, which is, I mean, good for lots of stuff. It's definitely unique compared to normal cars, and especially on the C4, it's just flat and long, and you can't tell where the front wheels are as easily as you can from this. I mean, even just looking right here, and you're like, oh, there's where the front wheels are.
The fender itself is like one of those JDM poles that sticks up here, so you can tell where the corner of your car is.
Not like you're going to be taking corners at any significant speed with all of this 150 horsepower, but it's still cool.
What do these have for suspension?
Yes.
We don't know old cars.
I don't know either. I'm representing this car, and you're like, what does it have for suspension? I'm like, haven't written the ad yet.
It has something. It's got spinners, though.
Yeah, I think those are fake.
They're metal, at least.
Yeah.
So because we're shooting indoors, and because I'm using an APS-C camera with a circular polarizer on it, and I'm shooting at a fairly narrow aperture, because again, with these for sale shots, you want the whole car in focus. Let's see here. Right now we're doing the exterior shots. I've got this set up. I've actually got it on aperture priority, f5.6, so that the entire car is in focus. We're at ISO 100, of course, because since I'm on a tripod, I can just leave the shutter open as long as I want, which it looks like it's settling on 1 second, 0.8 seconds, somewhere in there. We've got our backlighting here, which is kind of nice. The tricky part here is just showing off the black car without it just being a blob. And go that way. Okay, nope, back this way. A little bit, stop. A little bit more, stop. And I've got to reposition my camera now. Oh well. Looks good. So I'm spinning the circular polarizer, trying to get the reflections cut down. Since it's a black car in a indoor artificially lit location, dealing with bright spots is kind of an issue. You want some reflection, clearly, because you want to show the shape of the car. You don't want it to just be a completely black blob sitting there, you know, especially in a black backlit situation like this. but at the same time, I don't want the entire side of the car to just be spackles of light all over the place. Fortunately, there are no bright light sources from over here. It's all pretty diffused because the lights are bouncing off of the brighter concrete. It's kind of solving itself. Since it's a side shot, I'm going to crank my aperture a bit wider open because I'm only shooting on one narrow plane, and that'll just kind of get me a faster shutter. I'm shooting on a 2-second timer just because they're pretty long exposures. I don't want the camera to shake. Though sometimes I've noticed these cameras actually have a tendency to shake themselves so bad by the shutter opening that it'll cause a slightly soft photo. But I think that was pretty okay. It shows the car off. This is kind of a little more artsy than your typical bring a trailer or whatever, because we're really trying to stand out in a sea of listings for 80s C3 Corvettes in the Midwest US, you know, the very, very few and far in between. So we've got to stand out a bit. I think this is the trick. Everything's a bit warm here, so in post I'm definitely going to cool this off more, but that might cause a bit of an issue since we're using a blue light, but I guess we'll burn that bridge when we get to it. I can probably change the hue on the blue channel to compensate for that, but I don't know. This studio lighting is actually fairly new to me. I did used to take photos at a dealership where we had set lights up, but that was like a static setup, never changed. They were all just white strobes, and you know, just point and shoot.
Jake's doing a heck of a job. We're getting it done.
Let's move the car.
Here you go, forward, stop, back just a little bit, there. Nice. My zoom, there we go. That looks good. Yeah, I think that works.
We're leaving the car running while we do this because the battery might not like starting this many times. We don't want to hurt it anyway. And you know, a little carbon monoxide poisoning never hurt anybody. I just love the proportions of this car. You sit at the back of it, and then there's half the car in front of you. It's fantastic. All the best cars are driven from the back. Such a classically proportioned long boy. I mean, look at it. Look at it compared to the Hellcat. It's just, it's so long and so low and so angry and so bulging. And the wheels and tires fill out the wheel wells completely. I love it. Anyway, back to shooting. You can really see what I'm talking here with the circular polarizer. As it is right now, the hood is not being polarized, and you can see how blue it looks. It's just reflecting the background, but with just a twist of the polarizer, boom, it's a lot more toned down. There's still just a hint of blue, so it still works in its environment, but now you can actually tell that the car is black. So let's go ahead and expose. Boop. Okay, and then let's get one with the headlights up.
Yeah, ready?
That's a noise.
Okay, looks good. Let's pop down those headlights.
Yeah, let's get these down. Just don't put your fingers in there.
That's aggressive.
Yeah.
So now that the artsy eye-catching overview shots are done, it's time for all the detail shots. So we got the overhead lights coming back on. We're going to kill the blue so that we don't get weird blue reflections in all our detail shots. And yeah, it's pretty much the same at this point as Bring a Trailer, except just a little bit less detailed. We don't need to show every single flaw because people are going to be coming to check out the car in person. We just kind of want to show enough that people have a general idea of the condition of the vehicle, especially the interior and the engine bay and that sort of thing. I don't know, we might get it on a lift and take undercarriage shots. I'm not sure yet. It looks like it might be a little bit of a hassle, but always a good thing to do if you can. Now that we're done with the overview shots, I'm also going to switch my lens. I'm going to go from this 50mm 1.8 to actually my kit zoom lens. Focus, would you? To my kit zoom lens with a circular polarizer on it. I need the wider angle for some of the interior shots, and honestly, this is a pretty solid little lens. It's plenty sharp. I could probably do the whole shoot with this and be fine, but you gotta flex with the nifty 50 sometimes. Another thing CPLs are really good for is shooting through glass like this. On these earlier ones, well, this isn't an early one, but only the later ones actually had back glass that would open. These do not. So in order to get this angle on the back, I'm having to shoot from here. But we've got all those nasty reflections. But again, just a twist. And those reflections are pretty much gone. I mean, you've still got the bright ones from the lights, but you can actually see what's going on the interior there, which is pretty nifty. This is the part where I really start to have an issue with people who will whinge on and on and on about how equipment doesn't matter. This is a fairly entry-level, camera that you can start to do professional stuff with, but it does have its limitations. And sure, some shots you can take and not have a significant difference in quality, like the stuff that I've been doing with the camera on a tripod and external lighting. The pictures taken with this will probably look pretty similar to that of a camera 3 times as expensive or 1/3 as expensive, because the sensor and stuff doesn't really matter. Worse low light sensitivity, just drag out your exposure and it'll be fine. But now I've got to take these interior shots and I've got to go handheld, and that means I've got to go to probably shutter priority, probably go to 1/100th or 1/125th, because that's about how steady I know I can hold the camera. And that means my ISO is going to be through the roof. I'm going to have to be shooting wide open. It's not going to be as sharp. It's going to be kind of grainy. So then you've got to kind of do stuff like this. So yeah, I might end up with a pretty similar result, but really what you need for this is a full frame sensor and a really wide lens. There's no getting around the fact that the nicer equipment is going to make your job a lot easier. You're going to be able to get the shot. You're going to be confident that the shot's going to be good and crisp and clear and not noisy, whereas you've got to jump through all kinds of hoops with the cheaper cameras. So either way, got to get it done, and we're getting it done here. These lights are fantastic. Ideally, I'd have some strobes. This sort of location would really be ideal to strobe a car, but that's pretty extra for a online listing shoot.
If you're very quiet, you can observe Jake in his natural habitat, photographing. That's really messing up my own joke here. Photographing cars for sale ads. But let's be quiet. Look, watch as it works. Look, so careful. So purposeful. What people don't realize about wild Jakes is they scare easily, so we have to be quiet. He hasn't noticed us yet, but let's just continue to watch his work. Simply amazing to see a wild Jake thriving in his own habitat. Something you don't see anymore. And now that we're far away from him, it's nice to see him in a protected environment, because right now it's like 20 degrees and windy and cold outside, and he has been provided a shelter from the wind and cold. And I think he's really flourishing in this environment. So that's good.
Look at these T-tops though. Just one latch.
Yeah, the fact that people forget to latch these sometimes and let them blow off astounds me, but
yeah. These are kind of neat. They've got a mirrored kind of tint on them. Neat effect. You can still see through them. I do love that. Ugh. I love the fact that pretty much all Corvettes are Targas.
So yeah, we got to move this so you guys can get a cold start, but I have to use my factory battery cutoff because it's in there.
Oh, neat.
And I just don't want it to have an electrical issue because you know how Italian cars be.
Yeah.
But now, behold, the selling point of this car. Yeah, it's the, it thinks it's stolen. So that's what the hazards are about.
It really does add to the whole effect. Look at me.
I know. Everybody already thinks I'm a jackass with that thing, and then driving around with your hazards on, out of your control, It just, yeah, it adds to the ambiance of the car.
Underside's pretty straightforward. Just gonna point my camera upward and take some long-ish exposures, try and show what is really a pretty typical Midwestern lived car under here. You know, not really any rust, just a little bit of surface corrosion here and there. Nothing worth worrying about. And you know, the usual old car drips. Yeah, it's pretty decent. All right, so I'm in Lightroom now. I've got a few photos here, and of course Lightroom updated from version 2020 to 2021, and they replaced what I knew with this color grading panel that I have no idea how to use. So here we go. Yeah, that's pretty good. There's not a whole lot of distracting reflection. I mean, there's enough here that you can see the shape of the car, and it's not like hiding dents or anything. The only thing I really wish is that I was at a higher aperture. What was this at? f5.6. Yeah, I should have been at f8 or something so that the back of the car was a little bit more in focus. As it is, the focal point drops off about at the door mirror there, which, you know, not my favorite thing. The biggest problem though is that the whole picture just kind of looks like someone peed on it. It's got this sort of sickly green cast here, so I might throw a bit of tint in there and also cool it off slightly. Also just gonna throw a crop here. We're gonna go 16:9 because cell phones, and straighten it. I don't feel like this is centered. There we go. Find your center, as with all things. Let's get a little bit of a fade. Maybe not that much of a fade. Grab a couple points here, bit of an S-curve. Okay, so we're flatten the image a little. I think I want to bring some highlights out, bring some shadows up. My exposure is actually pretty great. It's all focused here in the upper part of this middle quadrant. Let's see, yellow, orange, and green out of this picture. This is all black, red, and blue. And I'm not sure what I want to do with this blue. It looks just a bit much. I think I might desaturate the blue a little bit. Do I want to shift the blue towards cyan? So for my shadows, I'm going to want more of the blue. I don't like how bright this bottom quarter is. I'm going to go ahead and drag a thingamajig up in here, gradient filter. I'm going to darken that, and then I think I'm going to put some clarity into that concrete just to sort of make it pop. Because, you know, everyone wants things to pop. That blue's a bit much there, and I don't like it. What do we need here? What does this need? It's been like a half hour that I just kind of skipped over. I pulled almost all the saturation out of the blue and just kind of made it a white backlight. I sort of crushed the whole image a bit more. I think I need a little more fade on the blacks there. My gradients got a lot more basic. Started from scratch on those. Desaturated the blues a lot and bumped up the luminance so it's more of a white backdrop. My color grading, I've got blue shadows and orange highlights. Hi, dog. I think this is a decent starting point for the rest of the photos. I'm going to copy all of this actually, paste it onto this image and see how well it comes across. Okay, quite well actually. I'm liking how this is coming along. It's a lot more dramatic. Let's see if I can remember how to super blue and like yellow pea color to this really kind of magazine dramatic, and the red really pops. You can see the red in the interior, the red pinstripes a lot better. That emphasis is really nice because those are kind of an important detail of the car. The tramp stamp really sticks out. I think that is a pretty solid look to base the rest of this off of. I kind of like how these spotlights are in frame. They sort of ground the image a bit, so that's kind of cool. Oh, I forgot about this view. That's always fun. Can I get back? There we go, that's just my image. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply this to the rest of the externals and maybe tweak it a little bit on each one, and I'll see you in a few minutes when I'm done doing that. And we can move on to the... Actually, let's just move on to the interior. I can do all that stuff behind later. So stuff like this. So for the rest of these, I'm going to want the same general like coloring so that they all look like they're part of the same set. But I'm definitely not going to want any of the crop. I'm not going to want any of the vignetting. And I'm not going to want any of my local adjustments. So we can get all that out of here. And then copy pretty much just the color profile. And then, yeah, that'll make these wheels look more like they belong. And for the wheels, I'm really just going to center them. I'm going to leave it in the original aspect ratio because these aren't quite as artsy. These just sort of exist in the listing. Maybe just knock down the exposure of the whole thing slightly, but then put a bit more shadows back in. Man, red is a really hard color in general, and this doesn't make my job easy, because that just kind of is eye-searing right now. Like, it's not clipping, so I guess technically it's alright. It's just some stuff like that looks a little bit insane. The interior shots are looking okay. We've got these sort of other things. We've got the T-tops and stuff, and man, it makes the warehouse shots look so much nicer when they're not that awful yellow tinge. Okay, it's actually quite a few hours later, and I changed shirts because why don't you? And I think I've got this done, so let's take a look here. We've got yep, front 3/4, still got the really strong red here, contrasting kind of nicely with the blue, pretty washed out behind. That's all pretty nice. All of the primary angles are covered. Lights on and off just to show that, you know, they work. You've got your 4 tires, roughly the same size, a bit of body detail. It's pretty much just everything that someone would need to know before they come look at a car, and then they can sort of get the details once they're there. These engine shots came out okay. They're a little bit sort of washed out looking. There wasn't a whole lot I could do to how ridiculously high contrast they were. That chrome with the bright lighting combined with, you know, just the dark recesses of the engine bay in general. That's okay. I really like these 2 shots in particular. It looks kind of like something out of a period magazine ad. For whatever reason, it's a neat perspective, and it really shows how much the red contrasts with the black, and it's sort of carried through with the pinstriping, which is pretty neat. My dogs are being dumb. I love the stamp on the back. That's great. Headlight detail, taillight detail, and the under chassis. Those photos exist. Overall, pretty pleased with how the shoot turned out. It was neat to be a little bit less worried about absolutely showing every single scuff and scratch on the car and getting to spend a bit more time with the edit than I usually do, because usually it's get the coloring right and then copy that to everything and tweak it just a little bit and go for a very subtle edit. You know, you want it to reflect reality as much as possible, so usually I'm just fixing the white balance, bumping the blacks up a little, highlights down a little, just to sort of, you know, make it look as natural as possible. So that's it. That's 53 images done and ready to send off. Got them all zipped up, and that's the process behind a little bit more of an artistic style shoot for the internet for Auto Trader, I believe. So it was really just about really this image here is what it was about, because that's the first one that's going to be on the listing. That's going to be the one that you see. There are so many of these 1980 automatic C3s for sale there. It's really important that the thumbnail catches your eye, and I think this thumbnail look a lot better than some cell phone picture taken in someone's driveway would. So that right there is the big draw. That's what's going to get the most eyes on the rest of the listing, and they can see, oh yeah, it's got a red interior, it's in pretty good shape. I might want that, you know. It's pretty right up my alley. I want one of these. I wish I'd gotten a chance to drive this one, but yeah, such a cool shape. Anyway, until next time, thanks for watching.